Alright, I'm back after a little well-deserved break, and we start this out with an obvious Mormon joke! How does the magnet train work? Sorry, I wasn't the one who wrote this line, but it's almost like if it was an intended reference. Wow, way to start this video! But anyway, as I said, I apologize for taking a little break, but it was somewhat necessary because it seemed like every single video I was doing blunder after blunder, like, for example, the whole Charizard versus Raikou thing, whenever I meant to say Charmander versus Raichu, and I even corrected myself. I even said, no, I didn't mean Charizard, I said Charmander. Anyway, Charizard versus Raikou. That's what I said, and that was awful. That was my cue to take a little break. So at least it allowed me to spend a little time on Rumble 2. I haven't quite finished the game yet. I'm going to talk about it at a later date, probably when I'm doing Routes 24 and 25. And also allowed me to spend a little more time outdoors. I'm very lucky. We're on November 1st right now, and it's still like 12 degrees outside, so great time to spend some quality time outdoors before we start freezing. Anyway, there hasn't been too much that happened while I was taking my break. The main news that I wanted to cover is that there are 2 vote giveaways going on right now as far as Pokemon go. There's one in Japan and one for the international versions. So I'm going to start with the latter since, well, I think, almost all of my audience comes from regions outside of Japan, mostly to the United States, but also Canada, the UK, Germany, countries like that. So, yeah, what's going on right now is that this was the same poll that happened in Japan and Korea earlier this year, and you have to choose your favorite, or your so-called favorite, or the one you want the most, or something like that, out of the 493 Pokemon that are programmed into the Dream World. That is, those from generations 1 through 4, and they will be given away with their Dream World abilities. Now Japan and Korea were stupid and voted for Arceus and Rayquaza, respectively, Pokemon that do not even have Dream World abilities. So, what am I expecting for the international poll? Well, just about the same as everything else. We're gonna end up with Solar Power Charizard, which is sort of useless considering it's already legal on Pokemon Online. But I guess if you want a Solar Power Charizard in your hard copy, I guess this could work, but that won't change the metagame very much. And yeah, this is sort of a shame. Personally, you know who I'm rooting for? I'm rooting for Ditto. You know, if Ditto had Imposter, its Dream World ability, it would be catapulted into Overused instantly, and that is something that I am dying to see. So, I'm doing this right now. I am starting the official Ditto For Overused Rally. I already voted for Ditto on that site. I'm gonna put a link to the side so you can vote for Ditto too, and tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone that they need to vote for Ditto in order to make it not just usable, but really powerful. So, do everything you can. Flood Chuggaconroy's inbox. And by the way, I don't condone actually flooding Chuggaconroy's inbox to tell him about that, but yeah, do all you can. We need Ditto to beat Charizard in that poll. So get everyone you know to vote and spread the words themselves, and let's start a legion of Dittoholics that will be unstoppable. Of course, there is a possibility that Charizard might lose to a very limited array of Pokemon that is composed entirely of Mewtwo. So, unnerve Mewtwo. I'm not too thrilled at the idea because it's even worse than Pressure, if you can imagine that. So, yeah, please, let's do it together. Let's get Ditto in Overused once and for all. And by the way, I was saying earlier on that there was another giveaway for Japan, and it works sort of differently. The Pokemon that are in the vote are all the cover legendaries or non-legendaries in the case of Venusaur, Charizard, the Blastoise, and Pikachu, and it doesn't have Kyurem either, since Kyurem isn't officially a cover legendary yet. And so they're giving away the winner of that poll in Japan. I don't know if it's going to have its Dream World ability. I think maybe not, because Reshiram and Zekrom are in that poll, so maybe it's just a plain old giveaway, maybe with a special move or something like that. But, yeah, that's what's going on in Japan. And anyway, I think this was the last trainer in this place. Oh, phone call from Baoba. What does he want? This is Warden Baoba. We've come up with new objects. Oh yeah, new objects that you can put in the Safari Zone after waiting for a while. So I guess it's been long enough, so don't really care either way. So, is there anything else? Oh yeah, there's this apricorn tree right here, but otherwise we're making our way to Lavender. Fun fact about Lavender, it's somehow involved in 99.9% of all reported glitches in red and blue. I'm not joking, it's true! Okay, yeah. I sort of regret doing it now. I didn't want to give that little attention-whoring bitch any more of what he seeks, but, you know, I just had to make fun of him somehow. As well as the people who actually think what he says and shows is actually for real. Anyway, let's see what we got here. Same thing as usual. Not much to comment on here. And I guess this is, once again, the same as it's ever been. Yep. No change. You're not really giving me much room to rant. Random vendors. So let's head to the Pokemon Center. See if we can get some more interesting conversation. If the power plant isn't running, the magnet train won't run, the radio station can't broadcast. So yeah, in a nutshell, we can't really do too much until we restore power to the power plant. I'd say Kanto is oh yeah, there's a radio show that plays Pokeflute music, and it needs an expansion card to tune in. That's what we need to wake up that Snorlax at the entrance of Dictator's Cave. And, yeah, Kanto, as I was about to say, is really open-ended, but in order to get anywhere past that point of no return on Route 4 that's west of Cerulean, you're gonna need to gain access to Diglett's Cave and go beyond it. So, Lavender Town, the Noble Town. Yeah, Kanto's radio tower. It used to be the Pokemon Tower, the Pokemon Cemetery of sorts. I'm sure we all remember it. In the first generation, it's involved in so many creepypastas, as I was just talking about a few minutes ago. They're hard at work in the radio tower. Our best to put on good shows, else everyone else is just going to tune into the Johto shows. Actually, this is impossible. You can only tune into the Kanto station in Kanto and the Johto station in Johto. There are still many similar things between the two. Okay. Yeah, you can only get on this floor because... well, for reasons that I don't really know, but power plant shut down. Yeah, I had no idea. Congratulations! You're the 100 millionth person to tell me about that. And I guess this sign isn't too relevant. It's the only floor we can access right now, and I think they just copy-pasted it from the Goldenrod radio station, actually. The Super Music Director, Pokegear can't tune in. Well, of course. How unfortunate. And, is he gonna give me the expansion card right now? Better get one. I guess not. So, either I gotta do something that eludes me at the moment, or I just have to restore power to the power plant and then come back, which I think is what I have to do, but I don't want to commit myself because it would be sad if I said something that was completely wrong right after I came back from a long break that was meant to get me to avoid doing those mistakes. House of Memories. This is where the Pokemon graveyard moved after the radio tower took over the main building to the north. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any actual reason why you would come here. I don't think there are any items. There certainly are no wild Ghastlies anymore. So, Let's see here. The Pokemon that lived with me for a long time, I didn't treat them as Pokemon. I treated them as garbage! No. I was sort of... I knew I would get another little speech about how all you need is love, blah, 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 blah. But I was sort of expecting that it would be... I treated them like garbage. And Mr. Fuji here doesn't do a whole lot, so let's move on to something else. Yeah, it's not a very interesting city to visit if you haven't restored the power to the power plant just yet. Over there, we got a tent, which I believe is the name raider. See, if I didn't take that break, I would complain about how you'd need to wait all the way until Lavender to change your nicknames. But since I took a break, now I remember that there was one in Goldenrod as well. So it's essentially the same thing, so there's no point in even trying to do something about it. Okay, it's a tiny, quiet town at the foot of the mountains. It's got a bit busier. Well, of course, radio shows are a bit more interesting than dead Pokemon. Floors and floors and floors of dead Pokemon. You need a Pokeflute to wake sleeping Pokemon. Every trainer has to know that. Which is why it's never appeared in any games beyond Generation 2, excluding the remakes. And actually, in Generations 3 and 4, it was sort of replaced by the Blue Flute, but even there, in Generation 5, it just became an item to sell. Should be at the House of Memories. Well, too late, I've already been there, and Mr. Fuji didn't cough over anything, so entirely pointless, as I said. So yeah, all these Pokemon are Pokemon that Mr. Fuji takes in, and he takes care of them instead of having them just be like released into the wild, defenseless and stuff. Though I guess those are Pokemon. Those aren't like stray dogs or something like that. I think they would be much more efficient than real life stray animals at taking care of themselves. Anyway, next destination is going to be Cerulean City. Now I could bring Crobat back into my party, but I think I'm going to need Furret for a little while longer. So, for that reason, I'm going to... Oh, I already talked to that guy, I think. Sorry. But, yeah, I guess I could put Tyranitar in the box and have a Crobat replace it instead temporarily. But all the towns are so close together in this area that it's not really worth it. Anyway, Route 5. This is alongside Route 7 and another route that I think has always been deserted with absolutely no trainers in them. And the house that you just saw at the bottom of the screen, in red, blue, and yellow, it used to be the daycare where you could only put one Pokemon. It came back in Fire Red and Leaf Green, but once again... it could only hold one Pokemon. The actual daycare that could breed was on 4 Island, which was only available after in the post-game, which was absolute bullshit if you ask me. Anyway, let's see what there is now. Yeah, I sent Sinister Shadow. It's called a Gengar. A Gengar. Gengar, and it's mine, so you don't have anything to worry about. You were in mortal danger, but you're protected now. Okay, whatever. Anyway, she gave me the cleanse tag, which I believe lowers the encounter rate if it's equipped on your lead. Very important, it has to be equipped on the lead for it to work. Okay, so as I said, pretty desolate route other than that, so we can move on straight to Cerulean City. This building here was the bicycle shop that used to charge me $1 million for a bike. That was before Black and White, where you can actually carry 10 millions minus 1. It's just shorter than saying the actual amount, whatever. Anyway, yeah, I decided to open a branch at Goldenrod City, and they started selling like the wind, but only once I dropped by and agreed to do some advertising for them. That's what he's not telling you! The bicycle pump. Inflatable tubes, yeah, I guess if you open a branch in Hoenn, these might actually be pretty popular. Anyway, this is going to be it for today, so next time we're going to explore Cerulean City, and once we're done with that, we're going to explore the Nugget Bridge area.